Hello again, Storm Nation, and welcome back to our week 3 of our Physics 101 contest. Now, we are here at the Northern Utah STEM Fair, where some 2,000 kids will be rolling through here learning as much as they possibly can about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and it's presented by our local Boys and Girls Club, which is a really cool event. We've been here 4 years in a row now, and we love interacting with the kids. I mean, you should see the looks on their faces when I tell them that bowling balls have different shaped cores inside, let alone they smell pretty darn good most of the time. But let's answer some questions and give away some free stuff. So the first question this week comes from Ryan Gainey of Port Orange, Florida, and he asks about pin up versus pin down. Now he says, getting a new ball to try a pin up layout to get the down lane further and store more energy. How does pin up versus pin down affect my ball's length? Ryan, I gotta tell you, man, in today's technology with these differentials and high dynamic weight blocks, pin up balls do not go longer and they do not store more energy, and here's why. You have to remember that whenever you introduce a hole into a bowling ball, you are raising the RG of the bowling ball in that particular spot. So the x-axis is also known as the low RG axis of the bowling ball. So if I go pin down, my holes are now being placed on top of that weight block, shortening that weight block and lowering the overall differential, raising the RG of the low RG axis of the bowling ball. Now if I go the other direction and go pin up, so the pin is now above my fingers, I'm actually drilling into the y-axis, which is the high RG axis of the bowling ball. So now I'm raising the RG of the already high RG axis of the bowling ball, and I'm also making that weight block much more narrow, increasing the differential, or the difference between the height and versus the width of that core. So that ball is going to do everything it can to lose axis rotation soon and get into a roll much quicker when it encounters friction. So for those reasons, when all other variables are the same, pin to pap distance and PSA to pap distance, a pin up ball will most certainly hook sooner than a pin down bowling ball. So I hope that helps, Ryan, and congratulations on a good question. You just won yourself an atomic core. All right, so the next question from Jody Reno from Chicago, Illinois. They ask, can the core of a bowling ball increase one's rev rate given that all other variables such as lane conditions and surface are equal? And for this question, I've got Mr. Preston here. He's going to explain this in a much more scientific way than I possibly could. So let's do a little experiment.
Preston Ritchie, Bear River High School here, and we've got this lovely and talented volunteer that's going to demonstrate what happens when you change your moment of inertia by pulling the weight closer to your body. So we start on this stool that spins, and we'll give him a mild spin, which will give him a certain angular momentum. When he pulls those weights in, the momentum will be conserved, but because the weight is closer to the body, he'll have to spin faster. Let's do that. So put the weights all the way out. I'll give you a nice gentle turn here. Now pull your arms in right to your chest. Right to your chest. If you've fallen or killed, it will be a small price to pay for science. Now back out again, and you slow right down, and then back in. And you can still speed up again, right?
That is intense. All right, Jody, so the answer is yes. The type of RG the bowling ball has will affect your rev rate. So low RG bowling ball will have a faster rev rate. High RG bowling ball will have a slower rev rate for you. All right, so our grand prize winner this week for our week 3 physics contest is Orlando Zalvadar from Miami, Florida. So congratulations, Orlando. You just won yourself an atomic core as well as a brand new physics bowling ball. For this submission right here, he says, my question is around picking the best weight possible. I usually go to 16 pounds due to the impression that more weight will equal better impact, but to avoid future elbow strain, I'm considering going down to a 15 pound. What will be the impact to my bowling if I am able to drop down 1 pound in ball weight? All right, we got an awesome video. That was a lot of fun to make. Hello again, Storm Nation, and welcome back to Brigham City, Utah. I'm Chad McLean here to answer one of the biggest questions we get all the time here at Storm Products, and that is, what happens to my ball motion if I change weight? Now, I know that there are a lot of equations that go into a single shot in bowling, like coefficient of friction, roll with a slip differential, elastic potential energy, and that's just to name a few. Now, I can stand here and tell you exactly what's happening in the 30,240 square inches of lane material directly behind me, but that would literally take all day, and we only have time for a video that's a few minutes long, so we're only going to concern ourselves with the things that we can easily observe, like changes in rev rate, speed, launch angle, because these are the things that matter the most to you when you're deciding your next ball and your Storm VIP Pro Shop operator's choice and layout decision for you you and your next ball. So let's take a closer look at what we're going to do today. I've prepared 4 balls for this test, a 13, 14, 15, and 16 pound PhysiX, all with the same 5x3x2 layout. Now I'm going to start this test by finding my best line to the pocket with my normal 15 pound PhysiX. And let the things like speed and rev rate happen naturally without consciously trying to do anything different. Then we'll crunch some numbers and get into some of the details. Hey everyone, well that was an interesting test and we got some pretty fascinating results. Now like I said before, there are a lot of equations that go into just a single shot of bowling that could challenge even the most experienced physics professor. But let's take a closer look at just one of the more relevant formulas, and that is kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is equal to 1/2 the mass of the object by its velocity squared, so we're only describing a type of magnitude in this up-close look. As you can see by this graph, my 15-pound ball at 17.6 miles per hour generated 208 joules of energy. The 16-pound ball, despite being rolled slower, created 217 joules. Going the other direction, my lighter 14-pound ball thrown at 18.3 miles per hour created 212 joules of energy. And lastly, the 13-pound only generated about 200 joules of kinetic energy. As we look at this other graph, at 15 pounds, my ball speed matches my rev rate. I'm not locked into a certain category of core, surface, or layout. I can use pretty much any type of ball with any layout and get good results. So at 15 pounds, my speed was 17.6 miles per hour and about 490 revs. But when I went up to 16 pounds, my speed dropped to 0.5 mile an hour and my revs dropped to about 480. Not a big jump, but that 1/2 mile per hour was enough to bump me over into the rev dominant category with the slower ball speed. I had to move in deeper with a steeper launch angle to get the ball to read the lane properly. Going the other direction of 14 pounds, my speed went up 1 mile per hour, which is actually a lot more than you might think, and my revs increased to about 515. But because the speed went up so much, this forced me back right with much less launch angle because I'm now in the speed dominant category. Now, this last ball was unique and quite a big drop down in weight for me. At 13 pounds, my rev rate jumped dramatically up to about 550, but my speed only went up 0.2 miles an hour. This is because my ball speed comes from mostly my legs, not my arm. So just because the ball is lighter, that doesn't mean my feet are going to go any faster, but my arm and hand don't have to work as hard to manipulate the ball, which explains why my revs went up so much, but only a fraction in speed from the 14-pound ball. This definitely put me back into the rev dominant category and forced me back left with more launch angle and a deeper set down. All right, so if you need to go down a pound in weight because of a strain on your elbow or wrist, you should, worry-free. You're not going to notice that much of a difference in carry. Now, if you're chucking a 15-pound ball down the lane, you might want to consider going up to a 16-pound ball to drop your speed down a couple notches to match your rev rate. That's just going to open up a whole nother world of possibilities in your arsenal and layout selection. But I have a fun idea for a pretty fun test that we can better illustrate out in the real world, so let's get out of here. All right, everyone, so we just got done conducting our kinetic energy experiment back at the Storm Test Facility. Now we're going to try our hand at something a little different that we haven't normally done before. So I've enlisted the help of my good friend, Kendall Miles. I didn't tell him what this test was all about today because he probably would have otherwise said no. So here's what's going to happen. We're here to see how much kinetic energy it takes to launch Kendall a certain distance and try and relate it to bowling somehow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start running at him a little bit slow, a little faster, faster, faster until I'm hitting him full speed. Then we're going to measure how much kinetic energy I imparted upon Kendall here and then see how far we launched him. So let's jump right in. In this first run, I covered 5 yards in roughly 3 seconds, which is about 3.5 miles per hour. So at 185 pounds, I created right at 100 joules of kinetic energy, sending Kendall about 2.5 yards. For this one, I hit Kendall at about 10 miles per hour, creating 838 joules of kinetic energy, launching him over 5 yards. This last hit was right at 15 miles per hour, sending Kendall over 8 yards at a staggering 1,800 joules of kinetic energy. All right, Alrighty everyone, remember that even if you have to go down a pound in weight, you aren't going to lose that much in carry, if anything at all, because you're making up for it in the increase in speed and rev rate. So no matter what weight you use, how fast you throw it, or how many revs you're packing, get out there and bowl up a Storm Nation. All right, Storm Nation, this is the last week to get your submissions into me to win one of these atomic cores or a brand new PhysiX bowling ball. So get those questions in while you can. It's your last chance. Go to bowlwithphysics.com, submit those questions to me, and hopefully I'll choose yours to read out loud live at Storm Products, and hopefully you'll be one of our next lucky winners.